I'm really sorry for the delay of this video because I've tried to record it 2 times already. But I thought I'd do a video covering Dan Lindsell's performance at the British. So we had a good lead up into it, sort of predicting numbers around sort of 270 on squat, 205 to 207.5 on bench, and 310, 312 deadlift. So those are the numbers going into it. His weight was all good, no problems there. In the warm-ups for squats, he found he had a big pain sort of in his TFL area, which is right here, and had the pain there. And he'd felt this the week before, but he really thought nothing of it, nothing to sort of mention to me about it because it didn't really seem like anything. And this was the first day he'd had any problems with it, really, like bad. He said that pain was 8 out of 10. I think 6 out of 10 just standing there, I think he said, which is pretty high. Like anything over a 3 or 4 out of 10 is like quite significant. And he took his first squat, 250, and it flew. It moved so well. I thought for sure 270 was going to be there. So went 265 on the next one. No, 260 on the next one, sorry. Because then to anticipate doing 270 on the next one. Unfortunately, 260 moved kind of slow, and immediately, there's a video, immediately he gets out under the rack and he grabs this area, his TFL. And he was having a lot of pain. I asked him to do a bodyweight squat in the warm-up, and he said, I don't want to do it, I'm too scared. So at which point we didn't go for the third. So that was the right decision. We saved the back. I think 270 probably would have been there. I've seen him grind out worse squats, but save the back, and this pain that we need to sort of get rid of, is significant. But yeah, like I said, he wasn't suffering this pain before, and it just happened on this day, and it really hampered his squats. As you can imagine, I mean, if you're scared to do a bodyweight squat, how are you going to cope with 270 or 265? Or it's very impressive. He managed 5 kilos off his best with that injury. Did a very good job despite all things, and kept cool-headed, and definitely made the right decision not doing the last one. Bench, everything was going good. No pain in the leg on the bench, I don't think. Opener 190, good. 200 per second flew. He was really, really confident with that. He said it was the best he's ever moved. So downward to go 207.5. But I wanted to lock in the 5 kilo PB, so he went 205. And he brought it down, and when he brought it down, he brought it down to like up here rather than here. He brought it like here, and then when he come off the chest, straight away that, rather than being here and meant to drive back. So he, as soon as he come down there, I was like, oh no. Like it sunk in so much more, like his chest like sunk in. It looked really off, and he got it like halfway up, I think. He said he was really confused about that because 200 flew, and he was confident 207, and he took out 205 and he held it, and he was like, yeah, it's going to fly. So I think maybe something just about doing your max, doing a new max, you start doing things differently, nothing more than that. So hopefully we can clean that up a little bit going forward. Then on to deadlift. At this point, it's kind of frustrating, 5 kilos down on his best on squat. Bench, we didn't get the PB we were looking for, unfortunately. Still had the leg pain going into deadlifts. Put a load of deep heat on his leg for him and stuff, and he seemed alright on deadlifts warming up. And I still think it's going to affect you. In my experience, I have issues in that area, and you can still kind of feel it. And it's still going to limit power output a little bit, in my personal opinion. But yeah, he warmed up. I think 300 was his second attempt. I can't remember his opener. I think it was 285. Obviously really well, and then went 310 for a 10 kilo PB on his last one, and he got it. So 10 kilo PB, and still managed to get a 10 kilo meat PB. which is great. But yeah, just a couple of little things that are a little frustrating. You know, the 250 was really nice on the squat, and I think maybe if the pain hadn't been so bad, maybe 270 would have been there actually. All that's easy to say, but you know, 260 was hard. 260 was hard, but immediately he grabs his legs straight away, so you can't tell. Just got to get healthy on that one. But bench was a misgroove. It really was. The head coach of the bench come over afterwards and was like, "What happened there?" Because Dan went to Europe's for bench, to Europeans for bench, so the head coach had seen the bench quite a lot and was like, I thought it was really strange. I thought you were being conservative going for 305 for 205. So even he was a bit confused about it. So, yeah, so Dan's training has been going well. I think squat, we haven't found our thing yet. We haven't found our thing just yet. With bench, intensity seems to work really well. Singles, lower rep sets, that as a theme has worked really well, and since that sort of protocol's been in there, his bench has come up a lot. He failed 190, he failed 200 odd at Europeans and got 197, I believe. And he's done 202.5 in training, and it moved really well. You know, it's not unrealistic to think 205, 207 was there at all. It was just, I think he needs more time practicing those singles and just practice and getting everything perfect every single time. So that seems to be working really well with his bench. On his deadlift, it was interesting to see him deadlift from the side. I hadn't seen him deadlift from the side much. I'd seen him deadlift from the front, but deadlifting from the side, you can see he's a rounded back deadlifter, which is fine. That's what you want to do. But he is a round back puller, which means you're always going to be strong off the floor and slow at lockout. And Dan's weakness is his lockout. If you watch his videos, he gets just by the knee and that's it. It's game over. So something we could potentially work on is flattening that back out, filming from the side and flattening the back out and see how that affects things. It might be one of those things that goes backwards to go forwards. It's sort of the nature of that. But you just have to trust the process. If you're not interested in that, that's totally cool, but it might be worth implementing a 2 count pause. I'll obviously put that in your program, but I think it could be worth doing that with a flat back, videoing from the side and just getting that flat back and getting those lats braced and your belly braced and everything neutral, rather than the initiating in a rounded back position, because that will always ruin your lockout, just because your leverages are all wrong by the time you get to lockout. So that's something that could potentially be to work on there. To just carry on hammering the hamstrings, to do the block pulls still, because Dan is not that much stronger at block pulls, so it makes sense to sort of keep them in there. Also as well, he has a tendency to try and get his knees through on the block pulls, and your body will always try and do the easiest thing. So when he's breaking the blocks, his knees try and come forward to ramp it up his legs, to make it easier. Not okay. So it'll be those will be something probably in his protocol. His hamstrings needs work, his stiff legs need work. Someone of Dan's strength should probably be doing stiff legs of around 220 odd for 6s, 5 6s. He's not. Someone of Dan's strength should be probably doing rack pulls or a block pull from just below the knee with anywhere up to 10 or so percent difference. So that's what I'm looking for. So if someone does rack pulls like 2 inches below the knee, 1 inch below the knee, or somewhere like that, depending on what I ask you to do, if someone's doing 10% more, then that's a bit of alarm bells for me sometimes. Then it's a circus trick. You're not training your weakness, you're just working a strength, and that's not the point of it. So using that example, Dan pulls 310. So down pulls 310, so that's 31 kilos is 10% of 310. So 31 kilos at 310, you're looking at 341 off the rack. So is Dan pulling 340 odd kilos off the rack? No. So we can sort of continue with that exercise to increase his back and hamstring strength and not use the quads off the floor. Also just less stressful on the lower back as well, because you're not going all the way down. So I think that could be a good exercise for him. Just bracing that position and not getting rounded over and fighting that is going to help him. I think that those two things, the stiff legs and the rack pulls, will be very useful, and potentially a 2-count pause with a flat back with videos from the side. And that will go under weekly analysis basically, and we'll just make sure that's all progressing the right way. I think those are going to be the main things for deadlift. With squat, we need to get the quads bigger. Like looking at Dan visibly, he needs bigger quads. I don't care how it sounds, he needs bigger quads. You want to be jacked, you have bigger quads. So I suggested to Dan when I saw him to measure his quads up, just from the middle of the leg. Measure that up, note it down somewhere. Don't tell me, I don't care. It's up to you, do what you want. But I'd suggest measuring up your quads, and then some of the things we're going to be doing is going to be focusing on building up the quads, and that will help the squat, because your squat is very back dominant. As soon as you come out of the hole, pretty much it's straight to the back. Again, we're looking at ratios and percentages and stuff. Someone that only squats 260 and pulls 310, you're going to look at that and think strong back or weak legs. So, don't get me wrong, this is all relative, right? So Dan has got very strong legs compared to a lot of people. However, when I'm calling Dan weak or weak here or strong there, it's only relative to his other strengths. So don't get that twisted. Because I know I told someone that they had weak legs and they nearly ripped my head off, and they were so personally insulted. You know who you are. He was very offended. Anyway, he won't be listening to this. I doubt it. Anyway, so legs. We need to work on the legs. So we're going to be doing some high bar stuff, building the legs up, taking some stress off the arms and the back, and just working on the quads. We need to get those legs an inch bigger. We need to get them an inch bigger at least. Yeah, we need to get that squat up to like 280. And I think when your squat's at 280, your deadlift will be at 320, even if you never really, if you just ticked over on it, just because of the sort of imbalance you've got there. You've got such a strong back, clearly, with that deadlift. We're gonna need to get those legs up, and then your back will be able to squat it. So whatever we get your legs up to, it's like your back can squat it. So I think it's hard. It is hard, these sort of decisions are quite hard, but I think we're going to have a bit of a high bar focus for a while, and we'll keep the low bar ticking over. So I've got some ideas for that. But we need to actually actively strengthen the high bar, strengthen the quads. Yeah, so I want to see O-shoes. Stance can be about the same, moderate. No need to really change much. Whatever you feel most comfortable doing, but we need to get those quads up. That's it. So there will be some assistant stuff, more quad focus rather than back focus for you, because we need to get them up. So we're going to work on that weakness. We're going to hammer the quads, and we're going to take it to the next level for sure. So I think that's kind of really the key on squat. As far as rep ranges and stuff, we don't really know. We just need to build mass, get strong quads. With James Blundell, we did a similar thing. Off the bat, realised his weakness, worked on it. And sometimes you pick a weakness and you can work on it and do really well, and sometimes you might be slightly off in your assessment. So with James, we put 20 kilos on his high bar, and it translated directly to 20 kilos on his back squat, his normal low bar squat. So I think with you, we need to try and do something quite similar to that. things will be a little bit different for you because I think you might need more competition practice. But we'll see. But we're going to have a little focus now on the quads, and that's really going to be squat. Your bench seems to be ticking on really well, so we'll just continue with some lower rep ranges, so probably at most 6s and 7s at the start of the cycle, as opposed to maybe 8s and 10s that we went with previously, because it just seems like you respond that way. We will probably run singles probably throughout. Because you didn't get that 205 bench, I don't want to go too far back. I kind of want to push it and tick it off. So I want to keep the singles in weekly for a little while until we need to change up, because I actually want you to just not lose that. I don't want you to lose it. I don't want you to take it back so far you forget what it feels like. I want you to keep ticking over those weights, keep the rep range down, and I think the PBs are going to come. So I can imagine you putting up easy 200s in training before doing back off sets of 6, 7s, that sort of thing to start with, then taper the reps down. We'll probably waive the reps and work on the next meet, which will probably be East Mids. I'm guessing you're going to do. I'm guessing that. Tricep cramp, motherfucker. Dips, huh? Anyway, so yeah, we're going to work on that stuff. So right now you're taking a whole week off, which is actually what James ended up doing as well, which I'm really glad you both done. And I'm looking forward to getting started with you both next week. And we're going to be running some different protocols next week, and that's going to be via email. Then week 2 of your block will be back onto spreadsheet, and that's when we'll pick up the pace. And yeah, that's it. So that's pretty much everything I can think of on the squat, bench and deadlift. But yeah, we're just going to use this time to build some more muscle mass. I do want you personally to, whether it's on my progress tracker sheet I sent you guys or it's you, I just want you to write down your PBs on your assistance exercises. I want you to know what your rep PBs are for pretty much everything. I want you to start logging stuff a bit more efficiently. If you do or don't, I don't know, but I want you to start really looking back and thinking, right, last week I did this on leg press or leg extensions or some of the things we might be doing, and thinking, right, this week I've got to do more. So pushing that a bit more will help. So that's pretty much it. Anyway, I've recorded this now, this is my 3rd time, so that is, hopefully will go out fine. Anyway, I'm looking forward to, throat dry, looking forward to getting going. The fact that you came 5th, 770, 10 kilo PB total with a hip so bad you couldn't do an air squat, it's not bad. So also as well, I know this hasn't been the most crazy progress for you, but just know that it's not been worthless. And cycles, sometimes where you don't make progress, all that can do is set it up for the next one. So in my experience, when I've not progressed in one cycle, you go to something else, and that might just be able to express strength better. Doesn't mean you've not been able to build it in this cycle and build mass, because you have. You look loads different. You look a lot bigger up top than when I saw you. I didn't inspect your legs, admittedly, but I remember you look a lot bigger up top. So you built the muscle mass. You probably built some strength. You obviously expressed the strength in the deadlift, which is fantastic. But it's expressing the strength in other things, which might come through running different protocols and different cycles and so on. So just know that you have built stuff, and it's not, even though it may have necessarily not had a squat PB, maybe when you get healthy and we run something that just works for you, that's when the PB is going to come. And strength comes in spurts, and it's not linear, and the only time it's ever linear is when people test only when they know they're going to PB. So, on to the next one.